The gate had no name on any official registry. The hunters called it the Maw, a dimensional rift that had swallowed 4 full S-rank parties over 2 years and spat their gear back out in pieces. Every ranker who'd stood at its threshold had turned around. Cale Doran walked in. Not alone. Technically, he walked in with the Vanguard 6, the most decorated raid party in the Iron Reach Hunter Association. 5 S ranks and 1 anomaly. Cale, the only A rank in the group, a man who cleared dungeons other A ranks fled from, who by every measurable metric did not belong in the same raid. But Vanguard's leader, Soren Hask, had a reason for bringing him. Cale had a skill called Resonance Ried, a passive that let him feel the energy signature of any monster within range, map its movement, anticipate its attack before the first twitch. It wasn't a combat skill, it didn't deal damage. On the association's record, it was ranked B utility, barely worth logging. Inside the Maw, it was the only reason any of them survived the first 3 floors. Cale called every ambush before it happened. He rerouted the party around 3 kill corridors that would have collapsed on them. He identified the floor boss's single weak point, a resonance gap behind its second spine plate, while the S ranks were still counting their bruises from its first charge. They cleared 5 floors in 8 hours. A pace no raid team had ever hit inside a rift that deep. On the 6th floor, the final boss fell. It took 12 minutes. Cale called the pattern, the S ranks executed, and the creature that had ended 4 parties crumpled into the dark. The system message filled the air like a sunrise. Gate, the Maw, cleared. First party completion record logged. Reward tier, Apex. Distribution pending leader confirmation. KL exhaled, rolled his shoulder, looked at the glowing chest in the center of the chamber and felt something close to satisfaction settle over him. Quiet and clean and entirely his. That was when Soren Hask put a blade between his ribs, not metaphorically. A real blade, short, thin, slipped in from behind while Cale was still reading the system notification. The other 4 didn't move. They'd known. They'd been told. The Apex reward would distribute automatically to all party members, unless the leader locked it to a subset before the gate closed. Cale had to go. You understand, Soren said, almost gently, twisting the blade. You're an A rank. An A rank doesn't take Apex loot. An A rank doesn't get credit for a first clear. That story doesn't work. Cale's knees hit the stone. The chest's glow pulsed once, twice. The gate was counting down. Nothing personal, Soren said. He pulled the blade free. You were useful. They stepped over him. They took the chest. They walked out. The gate closed. The darkness was total and permanent, and K.L. Doran lay on the cold stone of the 6th floor of the Maw, alone, bleeding out, listening to the silence where a system prompt should have been. Then a different system spoke. You have reached the threshold of total cessation, anomaly detected. Resonance read, passive classification revised, true classification. Abyss Devourer, tier Abyss Devourer, every ability, skill, power, and resonance absorbed from a defeated entity becomes permanently integrated. No cap, no diminishing return. The stronger the source, the greater the gain. Regression protocol initiated. Returning to, day 1, all memories retained. Class active from origin point. Note, you fed the Abyss for years. Now the Abyss feeds you. The darkness folded. And Cale Doran woke up on the morning of the day he'd first walked into the Iron Reach Hunter Association's registration office. 3 years before, the Maw, 3 years before Soren Hask's blade. He lay still for a moment, felt the absence of the wound in his side and the presence of something vast and humming behind his ribs. Warm, patient, like a furnace waiting for fuel. He got up, registered, listed his skill, resonance read, B utility. He let them think that. And then he went to work. The first dungeon he cleared alone was a C-rank forest rift. The creatures inside were minor, fangwolves, ember beetles, a D-rank territorial drake at the center. Nothing an A rank should warm up on. He devoured every single one of them. Abyss Devourer has absorbed. Pack Instinct, integrated. Abyss Devourer has absorbed. Thermal Resistance, integrated. Abyss Devourer has absorbed. Drake's Hardened Hide, integrated. The system didn't care about rank. Every ability from every creature, stacked, permanent, compounding. A Fangwolf's Pack Instinct. A Firebeetle's Thermal Resistance. A Drake's Hide layered over his baseline defense like a second skeleton. He moved to the next dungeon. And the next. He didn't register his clears publicly, didn't chase rankings, didn't announce anything. He hunted the same way water finds the lowest ground. Quietly, completely. By month 4, he had absorbed over 300 distinct abilities. A B rank rift, rated for 6-person parties, he cleared solo in 40 minutes. The Gate Guardian had possessed a skill called Mirror Shatter, a wave that reflected any attacker's force back at double. He absorbed it without breaking stride. Now he had that too, the S-rank gates opened to him by month 8. He was patient. He had 3 years. He knew exactly what was coming. The Maw reopened on the second anniversary of its first clear. That was how rift cycles worked. Reset and relayered after 2 years. The Iron Reach Association posted a raid call. Soren Hask's Vanguard 6 now celebrated. Their first clear record framed in the lobby, signed up immediately. So did Kale Doran. Soren looked at him across the registration desk and almost laughed. You're brave, or stupid. A rank applicant for a Maw re-clear? We don't run charity slots. I cleared it 3 years ago, Kale said. You were there. The silence that followed was very short and very loud. Soren recovered fast, he always had. He smiled, polished, you're confused. The record shows our party of 5. There was no 6th member. I know what the record shows, Kale said. I'm applying anyway. They let him in because refusing a registered applicant in front of a lobby full of witnesses was complicated. They planned to handle it inside. Soren had a new blade. The Maw swallowed them on the first floor, and nothing went the way Soren had planned. Kale didn't call ambushes for them this time. He walked ahead and let them scramble. He watched an S-rank, Mira Voss, the top damage dealer, the one who'd looked away fastest when Soren stabbed him, take a hit from a Shadow Claw. Beast she would have dodged if Kale had warned her. She didn't fall, but she lost her composure in 4 seconds. Your read, Soren said, tightly. Use it, Kale said. He absorbed the Shadow Claw beast's ability with a single touch as it fell. Phase slide, integrated, and kept moving. By the 4th floor, they were running scared. The dungeon hit harder than the first cycle. Monsters they'd waltzed past 2 years ago were pushing S-ranks to their limit. Kale moved through them like weather, unhurried, each defeat adding 1 more ability to the stack. On the 5th floor, Soren finally understood what he was looking at. What are you? He said. Not a challenge, a genuine question. The kind that comes out when a person's model of reality has quietly stopped working. You called me useful, Kale said. You were more right than you knew. The floor boss fell in 6 minutes. Kale killed it alone. The S-ranks watched. On the 6th floor, the final chamber, same cold stones, same distant echo. Kale stood exactly where he had stood 3 years ago and watched the same chest glow with Apex Light, Gate, the Maw, cleared, second cycle, first party completion record, Surpath, Soren moved. The blade was already in his hand. Instinct habit, the only play he had left. Kale caught his wrist without turning around. He held it. Easy. Absolute, no effort required. I absorbed Mirror Shatter 8 months ago, Kale said. Any force you push at me comes back at double. That blade reaches my skin. It goes back through your arm at 2 times the pressure. He finally turned. Decide if that's the move. Soren's hand opened. The blade rang against the stone. The other 4 were already backing toward the gate. The record is going to be corrected. All 3 years of it. The association gets the full account, what you took, what you did, and how you did it. He picked up the Apex chest and tucked it under one arm, casual as groceries. The formal review board meets Thursday. I'd suggest not missing it. He walked out of the Maw. Behind him on the cold stone of the 6th floor, Soren Hask sat where Kale had bled out 3 years ago and stared at nothing. The gate closed. By Friday, the Vanguard 6's record was struck from the lobby wall. The association opened a formal fraud investigation. 3 of the 5 had already submitted voluntary statements. Each one more detailed than the last about whose idea it had been and who had held the blade. Kale didn't follow the proceedings. He had other gates to clear. The Abyss Devourer class was listed at tier. Unranked, not because it was weak, but because the system had no ceiling to place it in. 3 years of stacking, and Kale's ability log had grown past what any interface could display cleanly. The association's ranking system showed him as unclassified. The analysts called it a data error. The hunters who'd seen him work called it a warning. He let them think whichever they preferred. The Maw's Apex drop dissolved the moment it touched his palm. Absorbed, stacked, 1 more layer added to something already beyond the registry's ability to name. He walked into the next gate. The system read the chamber ahead the way it always had, mapping every ability in the dark, noting what he hadn't devoured yet. There was still plenty. He was patient.